Yeah, good afternoon, YouTube. Wanted to give you a look at a bike I built a couple of years ago. This is based on an Origin 8 CX700 frame. It was the 2012 model. Picked up the bare frame from a local bicycle shop, and then I built this monstercross bike. So it's a cyclocross type frame, but I've built it up a little bit heavier than you would for a cyclocross. For instance, it's a 30 speed. I've got a triple crank on it. I've got 40 millimeter tires and disc brakes. So I thought I'd run through what I built it up with. So let's go in and take a look here. So up front here I put a Ritchie 60 millimeter 30 degree stem. I've got the Ritchie Biomax Cross road bars, 44 centimeter wide. And then for grip tape, I've put the Physique gel microfiber tape. But I found the microfiber material wore out quite bad, especially up on the top there. And so what I did was I covered the Physique tape with some cloth tape and then shellacked that. And I've been really happy with that. I just have to put a new coat of shellac on maybe once a year as it starts to wear off. And then for controls here, I went with, these are the RetroShift integrated brake and shift levers. And what you use, these are actually 10-speed road bar end shifters that you would normally use down here. But with the RetroShift brake lever, you bolt the bar end shifters on to the top of the brake levers, so that gives you the ability to shift here. Nice thing with those shifters is you can run them in indexed mode, or you can just turn this dial on the top and go into friction mode, which is really handy if your rear derailleur gets out of adjustment. You just flip over to friction mode and then you can adjust the shifting on the fly. And then I've got the Gore-Tex ride-on sealed cables. I think I got one of the last sets before they discontinued those, but those have been working really well. So that's the front. Let's take a look at the wheels here. Okay, so for wheels, these are now Stan's Arch EX mountain bike wheels, and I run Schwalbe Marathon Mondial tires, 700 by 40, and I'm running them tubeless, and that's why I went with the Stan's rims, and they really work well tubeless. I've only had one puncture, and I'll post a video on that particular puncture. I had a nail go clear through the tread and out the sidewall. It just wouldn't seal up, so I actually put a new tire on the back to replace that one. These are the folding bead version. I really like the tires. They have pretty decent grip in the dirt. They're touring tires, so they roll quite nicely on the road, especially tubeless. I run them 30 pounds in the rear and about 27 psi up front, and that works good on and off the road. I don't have to change pressures or anything. So that's the tires. They've got the Stan's 3.30 hubs. It has the disc brakes, which I have the BB7 road discs since I have road brake levers. You could also use the cantilever brakes on this frame, and it's got all the cable routing and attachment points to run either cantilevers or disc brakes front and rear. That was one of the things I liked about that particular frame. Let's see what else we have here. Just to follow the theme of kind of making a real hybrid bike. So I've got a mountain bike rear cluster in there, and it's an 11 to 36. And let's see, what is it? It's the SLX HG62 cassette, 11 to 36. That is a Shimano Rapid Rise 9-speed rear derailleur XT-M770 with the long arm. A couple of reasons I went with the Rapid Rise is that it makes the bar end shifters work in the proper direction, and I can show you that a little bit later. And it makes shifting up to bigger gears easier. And that's what I find is the biggest benefit is if I'm going up a steep hill and the hill gets a little bit steeper and I need to shift to a bigger cog, this shifter will just click right up to the next gear. And then for the front is a Shimano SLX M660 175 millimeter cranks, and it came as a 44, 32, 22, and if we can zoom in there in the middle, you can see the smallest cog up front is actually silver colored, and I replaced that with a 20-tooth stainless steel cog, so it's actually gives me 20 to 44. And that gives me gear inches from 15.2 at the low end up to 109.3 at the high end. Yeah, and as far as the shifter direction, the way the shift levers move is I have it set up so if I go inward on either side, so here I'm in the big cog up front, and if I click this over, I go to the smaller cogs in back. So that way both sides work the same way. All the way in would be the highest gear, all the way out is the lowest gear. The other nice thing I like about the RetroShift setup is that the selector lever gives you an idea what gear you're in. So first gear is all the way out to the side, and then highest gear is kind of all the way to the inside, and you can kind of count the 10 positions. You can just kind of look at the gear lever and decide if you've got another gear you can shift to, and you don't have to keep looking down behind you to see what gear you're in. Here's a road bike saddle, so it's a Terry FLX gel saddles. I have it on my road bike. I kind of like the saddle, it fit me, so I put it on my monstercross bike. But then to make it more like a mountain bike, I actually have a dropper seat post here. So that's a Fusion high-low 100 millimeter seat post. And then I've got a Blackburn rack, and on longer rides I'll put a little insulated bike trunk on the back, and I put a quart bottle of water full of ice and a cold soda and some snacks in there. And the nice thing is that'll keep the ice in there for probably 3 or 4 hours even on a hot day. Yeah, and it's got, like I say, 4,000 miles, and like today I'll probably do 40 miles, and 25 of that will be on pavement, and then about 15 miles will be on dirt. That's why I built this bike. I don't like to put my bike in my vehicle and drive to the trail. I would rather leave my house, ride the bike to the trail, ride the trail, and then ride it back home. So that's my preferred method of riding. Yeah, kind of a combination of a cyclocross bike and a mountain bike. And I guess the terminology these days is it's a monstercross bike. And just to bring that out a little more, so on my pedals here, these are the Shimano A530 platform pedals. So they're platform on one side and an SPD clipless on the other side. And then to make them a little better for mountain bike type riding, I put studs on the platform side. So I have a bunch of little set screws threaded into the body, and that gives really good grip on rubber-soled shoes. And then you just flip the pedal over and you clip in to ride on the pavement. That works really well. Really happy with those pedals. Yeah, so one other thing I did up front was I added a pair of cross brake levers. So these basically intercept your brake cables that come off of your brakes. The cross lever actually pushes on the cable housing, and that actuates your front and rear brakes. And that's really nice. I find on a lot of the trails I ride are like fire roads, you're doing, long descents, maybe 20-30 minutes of just riding the brakes, because the other thing we have to contend with is almost all of our mountain bike trails have 15-mile-an-hour speed limits, and without a suspension fork or frame, 15 miles an hour is about as fast as you want to go downhill anyway. I end up riding the brakes for 10 minutes, 15 minutes at a time coming downhill, and these cross levers are really nice because you can stay on the flats of your bar rather than having to be down here, which is just a lot more comfortable. Kind of makes it a little more like a mountain bike. You have almost like a flat bar with your brakes accessible on top, and then if you need to, you can get to the brakes either from on the hoods or down below. So you've got 3 braking positions. But yeah, that's my Origin 8 CX700 monstercross bike, and yeah, it's my go-to bike. I ride it every place. Yeah, if you have any questions, put that in the comments section below, and as always, thanks for watching.